As the title of this video says, I just turned 32. I just had my 32nd birthday and I'm starting over. I'm making a change. And I wanted to make this video for anyone else who feels like they need to make a change in their own life. So if you've been following this channel, you'll know that at the end of 2022, I think around October, I started doing this. I left my 9 to 5 and I started to do my own vinyl wrap business. So it's been about 3.5 years. And after that time, after these 3.5 years, I've started thinking that maybe it's time for a change. And when I first started in October 2022, when I first started the vinyl wrapping, my plan was to always, start a business, grow that business. I didn't want to be like a super big, conglomerate or have all these different franchises. I didn't want any of that. I wanted to be relatively small, maybe have 3 to 5 installers working under me or managing them. And I think eventually my goal was to grow into a manager role, so I didn't have to do all the installing myself. I didn't want to be like 50 or 60 and laying under a car trying to install some wrap. I didn't want to do that. So I think my goal was to eventually manage this team, run the business, and then either pass it on to someone else or sell the business or whatever. That was my original plan. But certain things kept happening, and I don't know, it just felt like it wasn't working out. I kept running into different struggles or different roadblocks that were preventing me from reaching that goal. And that's not to say that I didn't anticipate any struggle or any sacrifice or difficulties. Of course I did. I mean, running a business is definitely not easy, as I've learned. But it wasn't working. And I think that's the best way I could put it. It wasn't working. And that's the entire point of this video is if it's not working, do not fight life. Do not fight life. It's hard to recognize whether you're not working hard enough or you're not finding a way to overcome challenges, because you'll need to do that no matter what. But there are certain challenges or certain things that will happen that you need to recognize what that means for you individually. And this is different for every person. There's no a blueprint for people or for anyone to be successful. This is all just, you need to see what's right for you. So if I asked you to think of someone in your own life or someone you know that you think is incredibly lucky, whatever that word means to you, like good things just happen to them, everything seems to work out for them, someone probably immediately pops into your mind. There's people I know in my own life that are like that, where you could say, oh, they're so lucky, that good things always happen to them. But this video, like, you might even be envious or jealous of people like that, which is very bad. Like, you have to recognize if you're feeling those emotions. But this video is to show you that they're not lucky, or whatever that word means. They're working with life. They're working with the universe. And if you feel like bad things are happening to you or life is not working out the way you want it to, it's because you're not working with life. You're not working with the universe. You're not working with whatever plan is meant for you. So if you can relate to that feeling, if you know there's people like that, or you feel like stuff's just not happening to you or for you, please listen to my story and see if you can relate to it. I'm sure there's a lot of emotions that they're like just part of the human experience that people feel, but I'm hoping that my personal experience of how I got to where I am right now on this day, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who can feel the same way, and I'm hoping that this video can help them kind of course correct and make them, if they're not where they want to be, to help them be on the path that will take them where they want to be. So this is my story. I actually used to be a math and science teacher. That's what I did. That's what I went to school for. I went to university for that. I paid whatever, $50,000 for that degree. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a teacher. Everyone's saying it's a great job, great stability. You got a great pension when you retire, which looking back I think is an insane thing to tell someone who's 19 years old that, wait for retirement in 40 years or 30 years, but whatever, besides the point. So yeah, I was a math and science teacher. And the way teaching worked in my area, in my school board, is that you apply. So you start as a supply teacher. There's 3 levels. You start as a supply teacher, then you end up or try to get these short-term or even long-term contracts that are temporary. And then you eventually are able to become a permanent teacher, which means you have like guaranteed work and a guaranteed pension and all the perks of being a teacher. Because the subjects that I taught were in demand at that time, math and science, everyone was looking for a math and science teacher. Uh, I was kind of able to bypass the supply teaching part and went straight to the contracts. And my first year, I got a 1-year contract. Wasn't full time; it was part time, but still, it was for a year. And then, the next year, I got like a 3-month contract, and then you get like a 6-month contract, and then maybe 4, and whatever. That kept going on for quite some time. As I'm doing those temporary contracts, permanent positions did become available, and I would apply to them, and I would never get them. And for the first couple of years, it was like I was okay with that. I mean, I was obviously upset that I didn't get the permanent jobs, but I was okay with it because it was like you're just paying your dues, right? You're a rookie, even a sophomore, whatever. You got to pay your dues. You got to put in some time, put in some work to be able to get the benefits later on. And the way they always hired for the permanent positions, because it's a union environment, was always based on seniority. So me being very new and having skipped the supply stage, like have very low seniority in this temporary contract pool. So the odds of me getting a permanent position were very low. And that's okay. That's fine, whatever. But then 2 things happened back to back. And I don't know if they didn't happen so close to one another, I don't know if it would have affected me the way it did. But it just happened to be the case that this is how it worked out for me. So there is another teacher, another colleague that I met. And at the time, I don't know how old I was, late 20s. But this woman was in her late 30s. And she had 2 kids. And she was doing contracts like I was doing. Now, she's working full time, but she has no guaranteed work. Like, you don't know what you're going to be doing in 6 months, right? So we were talking, and then we were talking about, housing and real estate and all that stuff. And she was saying, the bank, it's hard to get a mortgage because I'm on contract work. The bank doesn't look at it as stable income, even if I've been working for like 5 years straight. It doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I never thought about that. And the other thing was that, like, she was 10 years older than me. And I was thinking, whether it's rude or not, I thought, do I want to be in her position in 10 years? Do I want to still be doing contracts in 10 years? It never occurred to me that that was a possibility. But shortly after that happened, I had a good relationship. I built a good rapport with the principal of that school, and I was doing my contract. And he came up to me, pulled me aside on a Friday or a Thursday or something, and he was like, look, there's a permanent position becoming available. I want you for this job. It's a science teacher job. I want you to have it. Or it might even been math. I don't know, whatever. I want you to have it. So I'm going to post it. It was like he posted it before a long weekend on like a Friday at 4:00 or something. So people wouldn't really be on their computers at the time looking for job openings. And he's like, make sure you apply, and we'll just, keep your fingers crossed that no one more senior applies, and you got the job. And I was like, finally, like this is my breakthrough. So the job has to stay for like 3 days or whatever. 3 days passes. I see him at school, comes into my class or something, and he's like, yeah, someone else applied. I got to give him the job. And because that happened so close to my conversation with my colleague about, not being able to buy a house and all that stuff, not being able to get a mortgage, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I mean, I didn't say that to him, but in my head, I'm like, I'm done. Once his contract is up, I'm done teaching. I'm done with, it doesn't matter how successful or how hard you work or even the relationships you have. It doesn't matter. It's only based on seniority. That's not for me. I'm not going to survive in that environment. So that was it. Now, you could look at that. This was after 5 years, by the way. 5 years of doing contracts. You could look at that as I've sacrificed 5 years. I gave up 5 years of my life. This is so unfair. Brutal mentality to have. Do not think like that. This is so unfair. How come they got the job? I'm a better teacher. If you start thinking like that, like every toxic thought or trait, honestly, you could have, if you start thinking like that, you're cooked. You're like, it's over. It's over. You will not be successful. You will become miserable, resentful, and life will be hell for you if you have that mentality. So instead, I mean, of course, I was bitter for like a bit. I wasn't happy to hear that news. I was like, oh, gee, I guess I'll just do something else. No, I was pissed off. Of course I was. I think that's very normal to feel that way. But instead of wallowing in that self-pity, poor me, it's like, okay, now it's on me. I'm going to do what I think is right for me. So I went into vinyl wrapping. Now it's funny that I chose vinyl wrapping because I don't know how else I would have heard about or got into vinyl wrapping other than my first car had terrible paint. It was a Honda Prelude, terrible paint. And I couldn't afford to repaint it. And I was looking up different solutions for it. And I discovered vinyl wrap, and that's an interesting solution, but it was expensive. I was like a teenager at the time, so I'm not going to pay for that. And then when I got my next car, it was the Hyundai Genesis that has been on the channel before. And again, it needed some paint work. And I thought, you know what? I rediscovered vinyl wrapping because it was a couple years later. And I thought, oh yeah, vinyl wrapping. Okay, maybe I can buy the vinyl and do this myself. And again, this is years before this whole teaching thing. How like 4 years or something before. But anyways, my point is that you have to, it's kind of like the lights guiding a plane in, right? Onto the runway. You have to see that path open in front of you and you have to recognize it. Now, I personally choose to believe that those signs or that path is provided by God. That's my personal belief. But you might not believe in that. You might just believe it's the universe. You might believe it's just coincidence, whatever it is. You have to recognize that. Like the path can be there, but if you're looking over there, it doesn't matter how bright those lights are guiding you in. You're not going to see it. So you got to have your eyes open and you got to be ready to jump. And when all those other things are working against you, like that teaching scenario where, I couldn't get a permanent job if I freaking tried. It was impossible, it seemed like. You have to see that also. You have to see those signs that say, this is not working. And don't fight life. As I said at the beginning, you cannot fight life. It's like you're trying to paddle upstream instead of flowing with the current. So going back to those people that you view as lucky or good things happen to them, I believe those people are just in tune with the universe, whatever that means. They flow with life. They work with life. Whereas people who are unlucky, I feel like they're working against it. They're trying too hard. They're squeezing too tightly. I don't know how to phrase it, but they're not letting life happen. It's too difficult. And the signs are there, but again, you got to recognize that they're there. So I'm recognizing those signs. I think I am, and I'm making another change. So just like I changed from teaching to vinyl wrapping, the change I'm going to make now is from trying to run this business, as I said before, into I think I'm just going to focus more on this YouTube stuff that I'm doing and making these videos because I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm definitely happier than I was when I was just dealing with customers and trying to get customers. And I think it seems you guys are enjoying it too. I'm getting positive feedback and that makes me feel good also. So again, just like the teaching, when I had those bad signs, the signs that I'm experiencing with vinyl wrapping or running the business, again, maybe you can relate to this, but the amount of time I spent marketing or calling customers or outreach or dealing with bad customers or giving quotes or doing all the amount of time that I have spent doing that is insane, which that's fine. Like obviously running a business is hard work. The point of this video is not avoid hard work. That's obviously not what it is. But the point is with all that hard work, what was the return on that investment? What was the return on all that time spent trying to improve or grow my business? And personally, this might be because I'm a bad businessman. I'm willing to have some humility there. I was not seeing it. Like there was obviously some return, but nowhere near enough for me to say I can do this long term and I can see growth. On the flip side, when I look at YouTube, I've spent a lot of time, again, anyone who tries to make videos, editing, filming, coming up with ideas, thumbnails, like all those things. But I was seeing returns. Subscribers have gone up. I have more people engaging, more people liking, more people saying, hey, can you do a video on wrapping a motorcycle? Can you do a video on I don't know, how to wrap a bumper? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm seeing the return on an investment, and that motivates me to do it more. So if you have some type of success, if you see it, why are you not focusing on it? I think that's a huge mistake. And I used to play ball, like basketball, as a kid, and my coach would always yell at us pretty much every game, why are you afraid of success? Why are you afraid of success? And the context of it was you'd run like the same play 3 times in a row, you'd score 3 times in a row, and then the fourth time down the court, for some reason, you'd run something different because that's what kids do. I don't know. We'd run a different play and we wouldn't score. So he'd be all pissed off, call a timeout, pull us over. Well, why are you afraid of success? Meaning it was working. You were scoring every time. Why would you change? Why? And I feel like that's how I'm viewing this YouTube stuff now. It's like I'm seeing growth, I'm seeing success. Why would I try beating my head against the wall to grow the business when not only am I not seeing the results there, but I'm enjoying the YouTube stuff more? So all of this to say, I'm starting over again. And I'm not going to fight life. And I don't think you should either. You need to walk the path that is revealed to you, and you have to have your eyes open to see that path. To me, that path is creating the YouTube videos that I enjoy. Obviously, still going to be automotive and vinyl wrap focused because that's what I enjoy. But I'm not going to be kind of just showing running a business or just wrapping people's cars. Every new customer that comes in, my videos are going to change from that. And it's just going to be the stuff that I like doing, like you've seen, the kind of fun projects that I've been filming recently. So I hope this video helps you. I hope if you're feeling the same way, maybe you can kind of reflect a bit, see what path is open for you. I hope you find that path. I hope you walk down that path, and hopefully you'll be happier. Life will seem a little brighter, a little more colorful, and you'll know that you're meant to be in that space at that time. So I hope this helps, and as always, thanks for watching.